All right, so as I mentioned earlier, my man Clarence is out for a couple of weeks, so
Yeah.
I guess I have to, and maybe we'll take turns.
Yeah,
We'll
we
share
go back
our
and forth.
thoughts.
You do it
This week, and then next week you do your thoughts, Chris. You'll do yours. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? We'll share our thoughts. Like he said, yes, yeah, we'll share.
Oh my God!
But I think the thought of the week has to be, and this is a odd one for us to talk about, and not and odd for different reasons. I think for each one of us, probably different reasons why it's odd. Me, it stands out, and we're gonna be talking about Beyonce and Beychella, as people called it. Why it's interesting for me is that this is the third year in a row, and I've been telling Paul this all week, that we're gonna have this, that Beyonce has done this something. Right? Last year it was Lemonade.
Right.
Year before, it was the Super Bowl performance. And
halftime
where we have this
performance, right.
conversation, it's the same conversation every single time, that Beyonce does a thing, and it becomes completely polarizing, right? People either love it to the point of insanity, or they either hate it to the point of insanity.
Severe annoyance.
Yeah,
Right.
like so,
Right.
but so, of course, Beyonce performs at Coachella. She brings out, the step team and the band and the whole HBCU theme is dope. You know what I mean? It's a cool thing. You know what I mean? And we can admit that Beyonce has a star power that's generational, once in a generation kind of star power.
He's a current icon.
She is definitely,
Yeah.
whether you rock with her music or not, she's this generation's icon. That is you can't argue that, right?
Hands down.
Hands down. When she does something, it's huge.
The world stops.
The world stops either to hate on it or to love it, right? That is what it is. So we've talked about, listen, you can literally listen to, go back years to hear us talk about why she has this impact and why people love her and how people react to her.
Right.
But there's been a little side argument that's come up, a side debate that is popped up as a result of this Beychella
Sneaky
thing.
little conversation.
Sneaky little conversation that's popped up, and it's hasn't popped up before. Normally, it's just all about how dope she is and this, that, and another, right? This time, I'm looking at the faces around. Everybody's like, oh God. This time, it's a comparison to an icon, the icon, the king of pop. There's an argument going around, P. People are trying to debate and figure out whether Beyonce is the greatest performer of all
Ever.
time, which in many people's mind would mean that she has surpassed Michael Jackson, who in many people's mind is the greatest performer
Of
of
all time.
all time. Is this an argument worth having?
Okay, so obviously, we it's 2018. You know what I'm saying? We're well into the internet age. So of course we can be prisoners of time and the time that it is. Not taking anything away from Beyonce, because she is a phenomenal performer. I can remember all the way back when Circuit Cities were still apropos when they were around. I can remember sitting in Circuit City watching a Beyonce performance and going, man, I didn't realize that all this stuff went into her show. She is a phenomenal performer. This conversation of the greatest entertainer ever, I mean, I guess, for Twitter's sake and for the internet's sake, it's relevant, but I don't even know how we quantify that. We haven't seen all the greatest performers. There's a sector of person that people that you and all of us in here could talk to right now that would tell you that Dougie Fresh is the greatest entertainer of all time. You know what I'm saying? There are people that would say, that James Brown is the greatest performer of all time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think Beyonce gives a wonderful show. I think Beyonce has done a good job of cornering what needs to be done at the time. Of cornering, not that it's not genuine or forthright. I don't mean that all the stuff that she talks about as far as black rights, as far as everything, all the points that she makes aren't. I just mean that it's current and it's easy to get with.
Yeah,
You know
it's
what I'm
happening
saying?
now.
So it's easy to get with. So I mean, yeah, I'm not the one for that. I think that everything that has been built on has been built off of Michael Jackson.
I mean, there's, and Chris, I think you've been trying to get my attention. This whole thing that Charlamagne brought up, where like first it was James Brown, then Michael Jackson's past James Brown, and I'm like, when did James? How do you determine when a person gets surpassed in performing? How do we measure that? How do we say this person? Like, how do you hand out that championship belt? Because I think it would hit with the crowd that loves that artist, right?
Right.
Like, I can go to a Beyonce show and acknowledge that, damn, that's crazy. That dancer did a crazy thing.
Right.
Wow, she has stamina. She could sing. She could do this and that. But the music not hit me. You know what I mean? I could go, like, I like rock music. Like, I could go to a Metallica show, and that show can hit me harder and mean more to me than a Beyonce show ever will. So how do we determine that someone is the greatest performer?
I mean, that's
Ever.
what I'm saying. That's what makes it subjective. I guess if we only put it to these two people, I guess we only talking about that one name, because I don't know how you quantify that. There are a sector of person that would tell you that Busta Rhymes is the greatest performer they've ever seen.
I saw Busta Rhymes perform recently with Spliff Star. They both had on fake Louis shirts. And it was very funny. And they're like 50 years old, and they got the 50-year-old weight going like, yeah.
I just remember Busta Rhymes being on TV like 2 years ago and performing live, and then I don't remember one word he said in English.
Yeah,
like,
they did.
Right, it's just like, it's like he learned he can just get by on sounding like he's saying.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
it's
I don't know.
It's weird. It's a very weird argument, and Chris, it does sound like it's like a prisoner of the moment type of thing. Like, yeah, she just had her performance last week, and we're geeking off of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is what we like to do. We like to pit people against each other. There can only be one.
Oh, fucking God.
There can only be one.
Yeah, that's we talk
Like,
about.
it's like Highlander.
Right. It can only be one.
Like Meatwad used to say in Aqua
Like Meatwad. Hold on, I just wanted everybody to hear that.
Oh yeah.
As Meatwad used to say.
And what was that, Chris?
What would Meatwad
in
say,
Aqua
Chris?
Teen Hunger Force, yeah, there can only be
Oh,
one.
okay.
He used to say that.
Damn
Okay.
glasses are fogging up. Oh.
As Meatwad once said.
What was said? The wonderful philosopher.
Oh,
It's
my
called
God.
Meatwad.
Oh.
Oh, God.
Those are-
Hey.
I'm not putting these back
Boy,
on
you are
to
the
Oh,
MVP
man.
today, boy. This your
But,
day.
This is it's very interesting to see and watch and be a part of, and I think it's I think it's a little too hard for people to judge. I think the way you view things as a kid is different than when you view it as an adult.
Okay.
And I think so when we were all kids and when you saw Michael doing all the stuff he did, it looked like out of this world, amazing.
She was out of this world.
You know, let me get to my point.
Chris almost slapped you.
Hey, Chris. Today is Chris's
It was
day,
Almost
boy.
backhanded
was-
you in case you didn't know.
Chris
man.
about to hit the,
He held himself back.
all the way. John Wall was going to hit Serge Ibaka.
Exactly.
That's what Chris was about
Squared
to
up.
John Wall was about to unleash all the pirate
Hey, he
rage
was.
in his soul on
He
Serge
was.
Ibaka last night.
He squared up on that.
Hey, but go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
But no, I mean, like he did things different. Like, what's that video? Annie, are you okay? Video stuff like that.
Yeah.
Smooth
Smooth
Criminal.
Are you okay, video?
Things, yeah.
Smooth criminal, you mean?
Yeah, Smooth Criminal.
I can't think of the name.
Yeah.
You know what I meant.
Yeah,
you know
so,
what I
yeah,
meant.
I got you, Chris. Go ahead.
All right. So I think I can't say if it's actually better than what's going on now. I think I think my vision as a kid makes me believe
The nostalgia.
MJ
Yeah.
was better than Beyonce. Although I really can't say if that was true
So
or
you
not.
saying there's a possibility that she may be better than Michael Jackson?
There's a possibility. It would have to be looked into.
There's
Like
always
right
a
now-
possibility that somebody could be better than.
But right now, I think my kid self is like, no, he's still better. And I just don't know if I'm saying. I think maybe if it was reversed around and I saw her when she was younger, then I'd be like, oh, well, she's still better or something.
I mean, nostalgia plays a heavy part into it. Your memories as a child is why certain people, like when it comes to the basketball argument, it's hard to let go of MJ. My dad can't let go of Magic Johnson. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm with it.
That
I'm with
happens,
it.
right? Whether the stats
MJ's clearly the best. But
word up, Michael
Yeah.
Jackson's clearly the best. But
Clearly.
but I can understand that. But I would even say, like, when it came, and this was the, Nargis and I had a debate in the group me about who's a better dancer, Michael Jackson or
Breezy.
Breezy, right? And I was appalled by the thought of it. They're like, what? And my argument was, and we don't have to have, we can, argue that later, but my argument was that.
There's an argument
man,
there.
y'all,
That's
man,
a good
y'all,
There's an
man.
argument there, dog.
But hey, man.
Hey,
Stop.
look, son.
I
Look.
won that
There's
argument.
an
You ain't with
argument
nothing.
there.
Adam ran
let's-
away from the
let's
chat.
keep it-
I
Adam
did.
went to
all the way
bed.
a buck.
I did go
There's
to
an
bed.
argument there.
Let's keep it all the way a buck. And I support Chris Brown in nothing in life.
Yeah.
Right.
But
The Bama can
Dancing
dance.
ass
if
nigga.
Oh, Bama
but
can dance. Bama can
if
dance.
Chris Brown wasn't out here beating up people,
Yeah.
he probably would have surpassed
Beyonce by now.
everybody.
No, he wasn't going to surpass.
Everybody.
I don't know who. See, that's so
would be
impossible.
comparable.
And that kind of makes the point because it's kind of impossible to say what he would have wouldn't do. I see what you're saying. And I jokingly, I did go to bed on that argument, but I'm not going to sit here and say Chris Brown isn't like a phenomenal.
Oh, no, he's definitely talented.
dancer
He
and-
he
right.
just was on the route to Michael Jackson and
But-
went off on the, went
But
off to Bobby Brown. Not
But-
Bobby Brown. He went way more Bobby Brown.
But if you think about it, when you're some of the stuff that Mike was doing, we never even got to witness. I was watching the Off the Wall documentary, great documentary, Spike Lee documentary that came on Showtime. It was about making it Off the Wall. And that Michael Jackson that they were talking about, I never experienced that Michael Jackson. This was a 1970s MJ. I don't know nothing about that Michael Jackson and the stuff that they were talking about. He was a musician. He was writing his own music. He was doing all this stuff and how he would be on Dance Fever every other week, just like shocking people. I don't know that Michael Jackson because I wasn't old enough to experience it. So
Right.
to the reverse of your point,
Right.
one hand, yes, the nostalgia, but on the other hand, it's like I don't even know Michael Jackson's full body of work. I only know light skinned
time
Mike.
you
I'm just
had
keeping
the
it real.
experience.
We know Thriller and all that, but when
Right.
Thriller came out in 1983, I was 1.
Yeah.
I didn't experience Thriller and all of that. You
learned
see what I'm
about it
saying?
later
So
on.
yeah, the nostalgia thing plays both ways. Some of it is like lore. Some of it is like I heard Michael Jackson or James Brown used to do this stuff. You're experiencing Beyonce firsthand, so it could play both one or two ways. I'll let one of y'all jump in there. It could go either one or two ways. It can be, all right, I'm experiencing Beyonce now, so I'm seeing it and I didn't get to see that. Or it could be, yo, I heard of the legend of James Brown, the legend of Michael Jackson. People passed out at concerts, this, that, and another, and I haven't seen that happen at Beyonce. When all that stuff with MJ, if you follow me, could just be exaggeration over the years. We don't know. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a necessary argument as a whole. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, like, they both winning.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that's the beauty of art as a whole, is that it can be subjective and we can have these arguments. Like, I remember when I was in grad school and one of my cohorts, like, shout out to Ife, she was doing her thesis on something around hip hop, and one of the books that she had, it was like a whole rubric that they used to break down who the top 10 MCs were. And there was a rubric that was created by other reputable MCs to say, okay, well, you got to look at delivery, you got to look at lyricism, well, you got to look at longevity, and you got to look at this, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It wasn't my thesis. But well, no, this was a book.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it wasn't in a it wasn't in a magazine.
tell of it.
This was a legit like authored book. You know what I'm saying? So I feel when you can create spaces like that, yeah, people who are passionate about music can have these types of debates and argue their points, like you said, no different than people who argue about the best sports athletes, whether it's overall or whether it's just basketball or hockey, or whether we're going to talk about the best clothing designer or the best artist. Like, it's all subjective. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a Beyonce fan, but I take nothing away from the clear sacrifice that she has to put
No
in
doubt.
just to be
No doubt.
who she is, and how fortunate she is to be able to include her family, to have a husband, you know what I'm saying, to have her children, to be able to create that reality around her, and to be able to use her platform to bring the community up. I definitely appreciate her for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to her concert, but I appreciate what she does. The same way I appreciate what Michael Jackson has done, both as a humanitarian and what he's contributed to music as a whole. We call him the king of pop, but you can't pigeonhole Michael Jackson to a genre.
Exactly.
You can't.
Yeah.
And Beyonce is on her way to not being pigeonholed either
Right.
to a specific genre.
Right.
So, like, they're both great. And it shouldn't be a
side
debate. You know what I'm
argues.
saying? Like I said, no, niggas need to go to work and stop arguing about dumb shit on Twitter.
That's all I was waiting on.
We was waiting for that one. Yeah. Go to work.
Paul got
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it.
You know what though,
Wait, no.
and Rob, I'll let you,
Arguing about
I'll let you end this segment with this, because music, and as an artist,
Yeah.
I'm sure you understand that music is subjective, that art is
Get a
subjective.
job.
You know what I mean? Like art touches you in different ways and affects and impacts people
Right.
in different ways.
Right.
The visceral reaction to Beyonce that is 3 years straight at this point. I might be
Yes.
skipping because I don't even think I'm thinking about like the other surprise album she did the year before that. Matter of fact, so
Yeah.
it's 4 years
Yeah,
straight
it
of
was.
Beyonce.
It was.
Yeah,
It
the
was.
drunken, like smacking you in the face with
Yep.
like genre changing moments. You can't deny these things, right?
Right,
So when
yeah.
she does it, the visceral, reaction. Paul and I were talking about just for a moment. Paul and I would talk about how the argument for Michael was always that people fainted at Michael concerts, and we was like, yeah, no one, I never seen that. But I think it's just packaged different because the
Right.
reaction that Beyonce gets when she does stuff from certain people
equivalent of
is the
passing
equivalent
out.
of people passing out when they see, or when I went to go see Get On Up. And there were a bunch of 50 to 60-year-old people in the theater, and every time one of those performances came up, they all got up in the theater and started dancing because they
were
were
feeling that
remembering
moment.
Yep,
that
yep.
concert. So it's subjective. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Nah, and I mean, for me personally, and that's the reason I haven't really touched on this subject like on
Right.
social media. 'Cause I'm like, I respect Beyonce. I'm not really like a big Beyonce fan, just
Right.
because me, I always go by music. I'm not really a fan of artists,
Right.
Because artists, in what I've learned in my music experience, tend to be horrible people. So I just don't want to get attached to a lot of artists. So I just attach myself to the music. You know what I'm saying? And so I there's not a lot there in the music for me
For
to
you.
be inspired by.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
I do love what it does for a lot of our black women, a lot of
Right.
black women feeling stronger
Right,
and you know
right.
more confident and just being themselves when they listen to Beyonce. I dig that. But I just don't really touch on this whole MJ versus Beyonce thing because it's like you want to talk about the better performer, and I'm not gonna go ahead and pick a side unless Michael Jackson can come back from the dead and
they can have a
battle her.
dance off, right?
You know what I'm saying? Can we get if Beyonce if Michael Jackson comes back
will
from the
serve
dead
one another.
and Beyonce can beat him in moonwalking, then we can have this debate. But I just want Beyonce to live in her greatness and Michael to have his greatness. You know what I'm saying? And with his spirit. You know what I'm saying? Like
Take that, Black
I don't
Twitter.
wanna do it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Black Twitter. No, I don't care nothing about them since at least 2013. Once they started making Bama's famous and giving them blue checks for talking bad about people, I was like, oh yeah, I'm done.
Real talk,
I'm
real
done
talk.
with that.
If Michael Jackson came back from the dead, I think he would win just off the strength that
That he came back from the
returned.
dead?
Yeah,
the,
no, I mean that's
Yeah,
it. You won.
I think he won.
That's the greatest performance.
Yeah, it's the great, right. That would be the second greatest performance behind you know who. Okay, yeah, like
Talk about the
depending on which
moonwalk.
book you
Talk
read.
about the moonwalk.
Depending on which book you
Depending
read.
on what book you read. This is very true. Yeah, because if you coming back from the dead to battle Beyonce,
Yeah, son.
I gotta give it to you.
Now that's the question. If he comes back to battle Beyonce, has he now surpassed Jesus?
No.
But is Jesus in the battle?
Oh my God.
We bringing points up.
We're all over the place.
Bringing point. I really might have to come back next week.
Hey,
The Atlanta episode in this, we got some things to debate.
Hey, if
Okay?
Michael Jackson comes back between now and next week, we ain't talking about Atlanta. Atlanta's not going to be on the rundown.
You need to know what's going on with Paperboy.
Yeah, right. I think we're going to scratch the Atlanta
Gotta give
topic.
people the facts.
Yeah, I think we can do without the Atlanta subject.
Atlanta don't make the cut on this one.
You're right, yeah. Oh, we got to start talking about the resurrection of Michael Jackson and talk about the latest adventures of
That
Earn and
Paperboy.
Paperboy. Yeah.
Paperboy and Earn.
Yo, I love it. We're going to end it right there.
Earn is definitely the Robin of that combination.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.